All right, looks like we're recording. So welcome everybody. It's nice to see so many familiar faces and names. My name is Edsen and I am a teaching assistant for Simple Scrapper. And today we are here to celebrate their 10th anniversary. So 10 years ago this month, Jennifer started Simple Scrapper. And so this weekend we're just getting together to craft and chat and share some of the things that we do with each other. So let's see here. So my session today, I was going to, my plan anyways, is to do some screen sharing and show people how I use the Simple Scrapper template. I am not a fully digital scrapbooker in general. I like the paper side of things too much, but I also really like to type my journaling. And so kind of over the years, this is kind of how I've evolved, I guess, to do a lot of, not all of my pages, but a lot of my pages, and especially if I'm doing like a themed album, like a bigger one, like a travel album, this would be how I approach it. So I will show you guys kind of how I go through those things. It is by no means a Photoshop Elements digital scrapbooking class. I'm not qualified to do that. It's just more of a demonstration. But if you do have questions, I can see if I can answer them. Or I think some of our digital savvy friends are here. They might be able to have the answers to your questions as well. Though it looks like kind of to start off, Jennifer is asking us to start a session with one thing that you like about Simple Scrapper. You can either put it in the chat box, which is found along the bottom of your screen. It's like a little chat bubble, or mute yourself and share on video. That would be great. And you could totally use the same answer that you used before. I don't care. All right, we like some friends. Carrie, what do you like about the Simple Scrapper membership? Or Simple Scrapper in general, I guess this isn't the membership. Carol Ann's got the crops. She's the crop queen. Very good. Penny?
Yeah, I just said that all of you guys.
Woohoo!
All the people.
I like the fact, this is Anna Ray speaking, that Simple Scrapper has evolved. And it's constantly relating to and meeting our needs. And as our needs have changed, as we've grown more comfortable in what we're doing and wanting more connection, the membership, the organization has risen to the challenge. And that's under Jennifer's tutelage for sure. And she's picked some great people to help implement this. So you're very responsive to us as members.
That's like you said, very much Jennifer. She's very transparent about like, this is what I'm thinking. What is your feedback? Do you like this? What don't you like? And then she can kind of evolve the membership from there. And she's, I think all of her like tech savviness really helps too, because she has her finger on things like, you know, transitioning to Mighty Network and Zoom and all these different tech aspects that certainly make a worldwide community like this much easier, I guess, to manage and to like interact with. So it can kind of build that community. So I think that's awesome.
Thumbs up.
All right, what else do we got? Community, challenges.
Kim, I was going to say the same thing about tech.
What?
Sorry, I was going to say the same thing about tech, all the different websites and how she's made things really accessible. And there's so many, like it's abounding in resources on the website you've put together. So
yeah, I think sometimes when people first come in, I think that's why she did that membership orientation, because they would come in and they would just be like, oh my goodness, like where do I even start? And she's like, start here. And then like this will show you what's out there. And it's a pick and choose kind of thing too. So,
absolutely, it's good.
Yeah, very much so. So let's see here. What else do I need to do? Okay, everyone is welcome to ask questions, chime in the conversation. So I have this scheduled for 2 hours and I don't really know how long it's going to take me to go through. So, I mean, at the end, I could do more examples, or we could just, you know, share and crop and so forth. But I'm planning to be here till 3 at least. So you have that. Let's see. And, you know, feel free to just do your own thing. If what I'm talking about isn't so interesting you, you know, just check that as you choose, either like live, like many of you just unmute, or during the chat box. Oh, and then also to be mindful of your own noise. My own children are at a birthday party and my kitty friends are tucked away. Otherwise, they like to appear. So just kind of be aware of that, what's going on noise-wise in your own background. So let me give a little introduction. Then I have a giveaway. And I will share a link if you guys want to check out what the giveaway is. It is a digital magazine issue of Retro Hip magazine. And here's a link to, it looks like they have several issues quarterly, and then they had a holiday special. It looks like that was just released. So I do not know which issue or if you get to pick an issue, but that will be our giveaway shortly. So I guess a little background for me. I started scrapbooking, I guess almost 11 years ago now. And I started like with many people, like I had like the Better Homes and Gardens Scrapbook, etc. magazine. And then for Christmas that year, I'd gotten some supplies. So it was just kind of a hodgepodge of things. And I sat down and I kind of didn't know what to do. And so I would push things around, and really I kind of found it frustrating. And then pretty early on, I found Allie Edwards. And then through her, like the whole big picture classes world, and then Kathy Zielski. And then, I mean, like once I took a class with Kathy Zielski, like, I mean, that was just the be all and end all for me because I think she's great. And through Allie and Kathy, I learned a lot of like the Photoshop element side of things. So I've never actually used full Photoshop. I've only just ever had Elements. And for the longest time, I was on Elements 6, which was like the 2009 version. Like earlier this year, I moved up to like the current one. Because at some point, what I do with it isn't full digital scrapbooking, and I didn't necessarily need, you know, with the evolutions of it. So even if you have an older version, by all means, I'm sure what I'm about to show you, you'll be able to manage. But so through those ladies and just through those classes and the videos and the stuff that they would share, I could learn just the very bare minimum to manipulate photos and text and basically to do what I wanted within Photoshop Elements as far as hybrid wise. And I know there are classes out there specifically dedicated to learning hybrid. I think Allie has one. I believe there are some other ones. But you can also just pick up a lot by Googling. Adobe has a really helpful, I guess, help center. And then just, you know, through a search engine, a lot of things will come up. So, so basically what I use is Photoshop Elements. I've just kind of learned throughout the years through classes. And you can also download a 30-day free trial of Photoshop Elements if, again, that's something later that you're interested in and you want to try. And then the key for me are the 438 and counting Simple Scrapper sketches and templates. So basically, the difference between a sketch and a template would be they're pretty much the same thing. They give you a starting point and inspiration for creating, except that a sketch is just the image. And then a digital template has all the layers, so you could basically create that digitally. So I use the templates, and I'll take you through that here a little bit later too. But like I said, Simple Scrapper has 438 of them, and they keep adding every month. And so basically that's kind of my starting point for all the layouts that I make, you know, 99% of the time. So for digital people, they would just fill it out digitally and that would be it. And then for me, I kind of change it up a little bit. So let's see here. Before I get too deep into this, let's do our giveaway. Then
Just out of curiosity, Kim.
Yes.
How did you end up at Simple? Did you start, did you apply first, or were you a member?
I won. It was a giveaway. I think it was a paper clipping roundtable giveaway for like Start Fresh. I think it was like January 2014. I think it was. So I was a member, yeah, for a long time. And then she had put out a like a request for an education need person or something. I don't know what the title was. And I had somewhat recently, I stepped back from, I was a retail pharmacist and decided that that was not a career I wanted to continue at this time. And so I was a stay-at-home mom. And then she had this opportunity come up, and I kind of thought, well, I can do a lot of those things because I'm already very involved in the community. And anything else, I'll just try to learn. So I said, hey, and she said, that'd be great. So I think when I took the position, the teaching assistant position, we weren't necessarily certain, you know, like Honore had said earlier, it's definitely evolved. And so kind of my role and position has evolved with it. So does that answer your question?
Of course, yeah. I was just curious. I couldn't remember. I mean, I knew you had been around for a while. I just couldn't remember exactly if you came
how that
first
went
to
down.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just said, hey, I'll help out. And she said, that'd be great. So yeah. Okay, so let me find. So if you have been to any of these other events that we've had, based on our giveaway, let me read my information here. I'm going to do a random number generator. And so I'm going to give away the prize to that digital issue of Retro Hit magazine to one lucky participant. You will have to open the chat box, and then once I paste instructions inside, you can begin. And so basically, you'll just guess your number between 1 and 100. You'll enter once, and then I will choose the person who's closest to the number without going over. Let me get my number. All right, I have my magic number. Let me put the instructions in the box here. And we will have a winner shortly, hopefully. All right, everybody, go. 1 through 100, what's your number? Not yet.
Don't say that.
I know.
Just closest without going over.
I know, that's what they said. Anybody else want to put in a guess?
Well, that's just 2 for the next time.
All right, so I think we're going to call it, and actually, our number was 23. So Michelle Hare, you are the winner. Let me type in, you get to email Jennifer to claim your prize. So let me put this in here. And I have never had this magazine before. It looks super cool.
Hello.
Awesome. Okay, Michelle, you are the winner. Excellent. So now the plan here is I'm going to do a share screen here. And you can see, and we'll go from there. All right, so it looks like you should be able to see my Photoshop element screen, yes? Awesome, cool. So basically, within the membership, you can choose to download the sketches or templates. So when you download them, you'll get a PSD file, which is a Photoshop specific. And then you'll also get a JPEG image that's just an image of the sketch part of it. And so when I open them, it'll give me a warning, and basically it's saying that I don't have the fonts that they used when they made the template, but I don't really care because it'll substitute a different font, and half the time I'll pick a different font anyway. So off to the side, if you can see that there are all these layers. I think this is the part then people kind of start to get freaked out when they're looking at these, because it seems really overwhelming. But really, for the most part, we're going to ignore most of those layers, because what I will do is I typically will look at photos, and then I will look at journaling. So when I'm selecting which template I want to use, I try to take into account what photos I want to use as far as orientation and size, and then also if I have a lot to say. I fiddle a lot with the templates to make them fit, because I'll do like big adjustments for like more words or less words or whatever. But as far as just to show you guys, I'm not going to fiddle so much with this one, because you know, I want to show you how easy it really can be. So what you would do is you just click on any of the layers, and you can see it's kind of highlighted over here in blue. So like that's the journaling layer. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and you can say, you know, this is where you're supposed to put your story. Double click it, and they're telling me again, I don't have that font. That is fine. I'm okay with that. And then it highlights it. And then it's a matter of just typing in whatever you want to say. So, you know, then you can choose to, you know, fill it all out. Once it's done, boom. So in the interest of time, because you guys don't want to watch me struggle through my journaling, I pre-wrote this so I could show you here. All right. So we'll go back. And again, so I didn't like that journaling. I'm going to switch it. Just click on it again. Or you can find the journaling section over in the layers and just select that. Double click it. I had copied the journaling I had written earlier, so I'm just going to control paste it here. Again, there's this little green check mark. Is good, I like it. Red circle, do not do that. I like it, it's good, it fits. So let me back up. So at this point, I have my journaling's in place, and I have all this other stuff. So I guess another thing I probably should have mentioned is I will dabble in everything, but primarily at this stage, most of my scrapbooking is 8.5 by 11. Because what I like to do, and what you'll see is I like to just, I have my journaling in place, and I just like to print out in the background, and then I can build everything around it. And I do not have a large format printer, and I just like the size of 8.5 by 11. So when this particular sketch is an 8.5 by 11 sketch, Simple Scrapbook has 12 by 12 sketches, 6 by 8 sketches. They've got double page 12 by 12, double page 8.5 by 11. So kind of when you're starting out, probably the most simple thing would be to pick the size that I guess is most, I guess, conducive. You don't have to make a lot of changes. And later, after I do this one, I'm going to take a 12 by 12 sketch or template, and I'm going to make it 8.5 by 11, so I can show you how you can do that as well. So it can go both ways. So if this is an 8.5 by 11 sketch, I could just get a 3x4 photo and use it at this point. So sometimes I will take photos though that I'm kind of switching about and altering. So this is a picture of my cat, and the story is about her toy rat that she will fetch at night and make this really strange cry. I do not know how she learned to do this because we just adopted her, and we had this toy rat and she loves it. So what I will do, let's see if I can move this. All right. I have all these, let's see. So can you guys see the bottom here? Because all I have are the images. Here we go. So underneath all of the pictures of you guys, there's a photo bin, and this shows basically all those, the files I've opened. So I've already used the journaling file. I can close that. I don't need that. I'm going to bring my picture in here. So then what I will do is select the image. Ooh. So this is the 3x4 photo. I just clicked on the shape. You can see over here in the layers, it says 3x4 photo. This is the picture I want to go there. So then what I can do is just select it, and then drag it over there. And you can see I must have sized it smaller. So I can just enlarge that. And it looks like, you know, it's not exactly, so I could just have a 3x4 photo and print it out. That would be fine. And what I can also do is if I want to make it fit the exact spot, once the photo is over this space, I hold the Alt button, get that little arrow, and it clicks it to fit. But at this point, I have my journaling, I have my photo. I know it's the same, correct size. So then basically all those other layers that we talked about earlier that seemed kind of intimidating, I am going to shut those off because I'm not actually going to use those at this point. So what I do is just go through, and then if you hover over this little eyeball, it says layer visibility. So for example, this banner tag here, if I hover over the little eyeball and I click it, so there's an arrow through it, you can't see it anymore. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through all these layers and basically shut them off. And there is probably a way to do it without, you know, going one by one, but in this case, that's just what I'm going to do. And then also there's space here to do additional, there's a date. So when I put this together, should I put the date in there? You want to do additional words. But at some point, the gist of it is I've got my journaling place. I know what photos I'm going to use. So I'm going to shut off all of these layers. So at this point, I've lost my screen. Okay, here we go. So at this point, all I have on this screen is it's transparent background because there's nothing there, and then I have my journaling. And then I just go up to a file, and then I would print it. And then it's just 8.5 by 11 printed out. And again, through the magic of technology, let me switch back to my screen here. I can show you. Okay. So I've just printed it out. So all that other junk, well, all the embellishments that I did not need at this point, even the photo, like, because this is just white cardstock, I just shut it all off and I printed this out. At this point, does this make sense to anybody? Nodding heads. Okay, so yes, the templates already have yes. So they already have all that stuff in there. So if you're doing it digitally, you could just pull in your digital papers and elements and everything, and then you do a clipping mask is what they call it, and then you'd have it and you'd be done. But in this case, I like to make things more difficult than they really need to be. So I have it printed out. And then I have that photo that we talked about earlier, and I have that in place. So now, what I would do now at this point is, let's go back to the screen share. So I have all this, and now I'm going to turn all those back on. So, and again, I'm sure there's like some sort of super easy way to do this, but the other thing is you could also just look at, so basically at this point though, I'm using it to kind of build my image or build my layout. And so basically I just want to see the different elements that are there kind of as inspiration. So I can build a layout that would be similar to this. So yeah, I mean, there's staples here, there's all sorts of things. The delete layer you could take off or put on, what have you. So then I would use that as inspiration for building my page. So again, through the magic of technology, I did not pre-build this, but I have all the pieces. So let me quickly assemble this to kind of give you guys an idea. And let me switch out of stop share screen. So while I am kind of quickly assembling this, do you guys have questions or just chat amongst yourselves? Let's see, what do we have? Chat room. Is the size determined by the sketch for the text box? So as far as the text box, you can edit. And I do that like all the time because I usually have more to say than they think most people should, I guess. So, so yes, you can alter the text box. You can make it smaller or larger, wider, whatever. So all that's completely editable. So yes, that's definitely can be done. So one thing with, let's see. Oh, template that I used. Let me go back in. I can tell you. All right. Let's do screen share again. And this was template 378. And one thing you can do is in your views and your settings, there's quick codes too, but you can turn on or off the grids. And so basically mine is set up so each small square is basically 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch, and then the bigger squares are 1 inch by 1 inch. So a lot of times I will use that to kind of guide me when I am cutting pieces of paper and sizing things to make it work. So in theory, I guess when you actually are looking at how this is constructed, if you looked back at the layers, this piece here is actually a background paper. So that was like a full piece. Or excuse me. So the dark brown was the full piece, and then this was laid over top. And then I guess I didn't pay that close attention when I was printing that because I just did it as a full sheet. So this is kind of my interpretation of this, where I still have, so this is my kind of the full sheet. In theory, this would have been my background sheet, and then I just put the strips in. I snuck in a little pink one because I liked it better when I was assembling everything. Let's see. So Honore is saying that she likes 6x8, does PSE auto adjust? So no, so you can make some adjustments. So, and I will show you that with the next one, because I'll start with a 12x12 and I'll convert it to 8.5 by 11. And then we could also kind of play with it too and convert one to 6x8. And then I think some of the recent ones that they did this summer were already 6x8. So, you know, then you wouldn't have to change anything. And that would maybe be a good place to start too, because then it's, you know, at some point, like I said, I've been doing this for a while, so I will, that's part of the fun for me, is the kind of the fiddling and making it all work together. But definitely when you're starting out, like, no reason to make things harder than they need to be. So, for sure. All right.
When you're looking at the templates / sketches, how do you know like which size they are? 6x8, 12x12, et cetera, et cetera.
So, well, okay, so let me show you. Well, when you look at them, so a lot of times I'll start a search to, like, and part of this is a little different now that we switched to the site, and she's put together that new template resource where you can get all the sketches and templates. But, and I know she's making it so you can search that by size or photo number or whatever. But so sometimes you can just kind of tell by looking at it, it's a rectangle or a square. Also, let me show this again. So along my top here, I can see there it's like a tape measure essentially. So right, so this goes over to 8.5, and then if I scan down, it ends at 11. So does that help, Carrie? Does that make sense? Okay, cool. All right. So maybe this isn't gonna, oh, it has an adhesive backing. I should probably just take that off instead of trying to put adhesive on it. That would be helpful. So again, let me, let's see, some chats. 6x8, yes, 6x8 is good. I will say usually with 6x8, I don't tend to do this system. I will sometimes if I want to, you know, especially if I have a lot to say, because I can put a lot more in typed than I can handwritten. Or if I want to kind of like think through my thoughts a little bit, then I will sometimes type the background. Oftentimes, and maybe it's just because, you know, this is just how I've done it for so long, I don't always convert those, I guess, like I do these. So, all right, let me look here. And then let me share the screen again so you can kind of see kind of as I've evolved here. So At this point, I don't always necessarily use all of like the embellishment placements. It kind of just depends on what I have in paper products that I want to use. But I really liked on this one the tag shape, like the circle shapes. So I'll go back here, and I had this card that I liked, so I basically made it into a tag. I'm putting in the circle shapes. I already showed you I had this here. So then basically what I would do is I would just continue to kind of build my layout based on kind of the inspiration there. All right. It's probably a lot easier when Jennifer has her above camera set up, so you can actually see instead of me constantly going back and forth. But we will make it work.
So for instance, in this template where you basically didn't really use much other than the inspiration and the journaling box, what is the advantage to doing it this way?
For me, I can just like visualize it better. And then by the time I get my pictures, because a lot of times I'm just starting to do some printing at home, but basically by the time I got stuff, I would just be able to like sit down and play. Then it wasn't like, I didn't feel like every time I had to like, figure out what I was doing, because I'd done basically a batch process and then I was done. So I guess it was mostly because I felt like it was using different parts of my brain. Like one was like the puzzle of trying to make it all fit together. One part was figuring out the words I wanted to use. And then there was kind of the creative part of getting out my supplies and playing. And so like last weekend, I can show, I was documenting our summer vacation. We went to the Seattle area on the Olympic Peninsula. And so I did like all of these layouts last Saturday because I had spent Monday morning, because I procrastinated and I knew I wanted to send off for my pictures, and I still had to order a kit because, Monday's a good time to plan that for that Saturday. So anyways, so Monday morning I sat down and figured out basically the designs and the photos that I had wanted. So I'd already gone through my photos and I did the stories I wanted to do. I pulled them in. Monday night, I sent my pictures to Persnickety, and I ordered a Studio Calico kit. That was like their last, it was the June one, which I should have just bought in June because I knew I liked it, but FOMO, like maybe something better will come along. I don't know. So I finally got those all ordered. And then Saturday morning, I got up early before I left, and I typed my journaling and printed it on the background. So all of these, so I guess that was one. This one is 2 pages. We're all done. So it's just basically like the assembling of them. And they're all based on this concept. That's one that I just kind of made smaller. It's like an insert. There's my map. So I guess that for me is the advantage, is that I tend to be very like methodical in kind of how I approach things. Especially I like it for like travel albums, because then I feel like I know that I'm covering everything I want to cover, right? As opposed to at the end you get there and it's like, oh, I completely forgot about that. This way I get to see it as a whole, and then I basically just get to work and assemble things. And then that's like the fun for me. This one's one of my favorites. I like this one a lot. This is Good Times. Apparently when you are in the Seattle area, there's lots of movie theaters. And if you're buying tickets online, make sure you get the one that's by your hotel, because it makes for a late night otherwise. So that is all, like, these are all ones that I did last weekend based on that. And
cool.
This is the one that we started earlier today. And granted, last night I went through and I chose all my pieces and had an idea of how it was going to lay out. Because for me, actually the embellishing part is like the longest. So I think since sometimes that can be frustrating for me, taking out the other parts of it and then that's what I'm focusing on makes it much easier, I guess. So, plus since I like typed journaling as opposed to the handwritten journaling, then I know where it's all going to fit. So before I started kind of doing this with the sketches, I would just kind of design my own. And that would work out, except it was a lot of grids. I'd have all these photos, I'd have my journaling, and I wouldn't really take into account like all the fun stuff. And for me, like the fun stuff matters. So I wanted to include that. So that is kind of that approach, I guess, and why I think that works well for me.
Kim,
Yes.
just a review because my phone turned off partway through.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
So I missed the foundation of what you were doing. Basically, you're creating templates with your journaling on Photoshop and then adding.
Yeah, the paper supplies. I know, I should figure out a way to explain this better to people.
No,
So
I just missed it.
No, you're fine, because I was talking to a lady at the scrap last weekend, and she was just, I think she thought I was doing everything digitally, printing it out, and then assembling it. And I'm not. I'm basically I'm using the template as like to give my structure, basically printing out my journaling, figuring out my photo sizes and placement, and then I just do everything else with paper supplies.
Yes, it sounds efficient.
Yeah, I'm very, like I said, methodical. Like it's just, if I know what I need to do, then I can do it. I think if I get too many things going on, then that's when I kind of get that analysis paralysis going on. So, but yeah. So, I mean, you could, in theory, and I know some people have, I want to say Christine Newman, I think was her name, was a gal. And I think she used to design most of her things digitally, print them out in paper, and then assemble them. So I think she liked using digital supplies. And I think the only time I've ever really done that is if there was like a basic gray Christmas kit years ago and I could get the papers, but I couldn't get any of the embellishments. So I bought those digitally and then I just printed those out and used them. But that was kind of its own special situation. So really, I'm using just paper supplies, like you would if you were just doing everything, handwritten and no computer at all. But this just gives me, I guess, the structure. So.
Well, I know that's how Kathy Z does her pages when she does hybrid.
Yeah, and I think that's where
the templates and then yeah,
because I think that's kind of where it gave me. But I think she uses like InDesign or something super fancy that I don't use. But for her classes, she'll show it in Photoshop Elements. And I like some Kathy. So. All right, let's see. There's some more chat things, and then I think I'll show you. I'll convert a 12 by 12 to 8.5 by 11, and we can also play with like a 6 by 8 for an array. So. Okay. So, do you print your photos with journaling, or do you add a physical photo? I add a physical photo because up until like maybe a month ago, I never printed photos at home. I would always order out. So, I would just basically. And we can show you this with the 12 by 12 too, but I would size my photos with the template, and then I would basically create its own canvas just with the photo and then send that to the printers, which again, all right, well, I went away, so I'm back. Let's see. Looks like I'm still recording. Okay, thank you. Woohoo! That was scary. So let me see, chats. We're back here. Oh, it wiped out messages. So somebody had a message about, darn it. So if you asked a question and I didn't answer it, feel free to ask again. But I do recall somebody asked a question about if you had different journaling and you had more journaling or less journaling, and I do that like all the time. But again, to start off, you don't have to do it. But so here, if you're looking at the layered template again, I just double click the journaling, it's all in black. So then you can alter your text box. So you could have made it much wider and then just continued your typing on down there. Or if you had less, You know, you can make it narrower, or, you know, I mean, you can like move all those things around. So definitely that is something I do all the time, because yeah, I would always struggle. If I waited to put my journaling in the end, I wouldn't have room for journaling. So, and that was kind of frustrating to me. Okay, so how to pick and save the template. So within the Simple Scrapbook membership, or there, I mean, you can get other layered templates from any sort of digital scrapbooking store. So you would, but from within the Simple Scrapbook membership, because that's what I do, you just click on it and then you download it. And then usually they're zipped files that you have to unzip or extract from. And again, this is all kind of technical, and if you're interested, you know, definitely send me a note later and we could go through it. But then it was just a matter of, you know, opening it up within Photoshop. And as far as like picking what template you want, I just find one that generally will work with the photos that I have. So as far as orientation and the number of photos, and then that I like the look of. And then also if I feel like it's something where I have a lot of journaling, can I fit? And then, you know, or vice versa. So, okay. Oh, save as a PDF. So I actually don't save them as a PDF, because at this point I would just delete this, because I have my printed layout, and so I wouldn't need to keep this anymore. But if you did want to save them, then the layers, the Photoshop specific file is a PSD file, whereas like a photo is a JPEG file. So it would just be, you'd go up to File, you know, and you could do Save As, and then just name it whatever you wanted to name it. So, okay. So let me open up the new one. So one other thing that they'll do is that you can easily switch. So let's start with a 12 by 12 size. And it looks like there's lots of journaling on here. They're telling me they're substituting fonts, which is fine because I don't really care about the font, because I'll just choose whatever font. And there's a picture of me. Okay, so this is 259, and it is a 12 by 12. Okay, why must I switch this? So it was originally a 12 by 12 So let me, so this is what it will, when you open it up, it will be 12 by 12. And then as Carrie had asked earlier, you can see, hopefully this is 12 inches. So it goes all the way over. And then down to the bottom, we're at 12 inches as well. Okay, so let's summarize. Pick, click, and download zip files to Photoshop. Add journaling, print, and embellish. Yep, add journaling, and then I guess order photos or print photos as needed. But yep, definitely. Let's see. Oh, April suggested that years ago her Photoshop elements would crash a lot as she would work, so she would save frequently. Yeah, that would be frustrating. Mine generally does okay, except sometimes my computer will do auto updates, so I do try to remember to save them kind of in progress as I'm going, because yes, that is kind of frustrating. So I don't have a wide format printer. So back in the day, if I was doing this, what you could do is, this is a 12-inch wide piece of the journaling, and it's 4.75 inches tall. So in theory, you could print this. I'm showing my hands, and I don't think you can see me because I'm doing shared screen, but you know, as it was like a tall, skinny piece. Because so with my printer, I can go 8.5 inches wide, but I could go up to 12 inches, you know, long. So back in the day, this is probably what I've done. I would have done the digital like journaling here, and then I would have just attached it to a piece of paper to do the top part. But now that I'm primarily doing the 8.5 by 11, I will generally resize them. So kind of how I would do that here is, again, there's a bazillion ways to do these things in Photoshop Elements I've learned over the years. So there's quick codes for a lot of things, or you can just select resize image size. So 12 by 12 inches is not going to fit on my 8.5 by 11 canvas that I'm going to use. Oh, okay. So what I will do is I'll switch this to 8.5. And it is, this Constrain Proportions is checked. So basically it keeps the proportions the same. So since it was a 12-inch square, is now an 8.5 by 8.5 inch square. And okay, so, okay, all again, they're very concerned about my journaling. Okay, so that is that. So at this point, what I would do is I would go to File, New, Blank File, and I'm going to choose an 8.5 by 11 inch blank canvas. This is what I have here. So I have that option. What I will do is I would select, let me close this. Oh, do I not have shared screen? Darn it.
I can see your screen. You're sharing.
You can? Okay. Lois, can you see my screen? All right. We're going to assume that she can. Okay. So at this point, this is my 8.5 by 8.5 inch square. Oh, Lois said it was little. Okay, good. So basically, I want to transfer all of these layers onto my new canvas. So what I simply do is I start at the very, very top one. I scan down to the very, very bottom one, and I hold Shift button. I select. But we can hold that there. Oh, okay. Man alive. I'm back and forth. I am so sorry. Okay.
It's your bandwidth. You got pretty low bandwidth.
Ah, darn it.
Sorry.
No, it's my bad. My modem is in the other room, and I almost should see if I could move it. Okay. But I'm good now? You got me. Okay. All right. So I have my square. So the 8.5 is perfect because that's how wide it needs to be. But, you know, 8.5 inches tall is not the same as 11 inches tall. So then this is kind of where you can fiddle with things. So usually I will just click on the background paper, make it big enough to fit. Drag down. Okay. Oh, you got messages. Mine was low. Huh. Man. And I realized my husband just left the house and left the TV on. That was helpful. Thanks. Okay. I'll have to look at that. So basically,
Don't blame him. Always blame the husband.
I know, right? Good idea. Too much going on. All right, let me close out of some stuff too. That'll help. Okay, so Fran said it stopped when I said shift. So what I did is I converted this to 8.5 by 8.5 inches. I selected all the different layers. So I could take them all over to the new side, would hold down shift, and they're all selected. Once they're all selected, then I could move them to my new canvas, which is what I have here. Okay. So I made my background paper wider, and at this point I have an 8.5 by 11 inch sketch. The thing to remember though is that now I've shrunk this down, that this is no longer a 4:6 photo and this is no longer a 4:4 photo. So keep that in mind. So in this instance, I can just count this out, my squares, because I said earlier the big squares were 1 inch and then the little ones were 1/4 inch. And I could figure that this is, so like 1 full, 2 full inches, you know, and kind of estimate. Or a lot of times what I would do is I would click on that layer. So I'm going to make this picture 4:4, so it's selected. Drag up my image. make it so it's at least that 4 inches wide. And then you can hold down the Alt button and then link it, and then there's my pictures in that size. So, and then my other picture, I just scanned the image yesterday, so it is not in there right now. But so then basically, I would put my other picture in there that I already have printed. And then it's the same type of thing where you click on the journaling. I'm okay with that font substitution. And then just type in all my journaling there, okay? So at this point, you can look and see, sometimes I will use like a title if I want. A lot of times I'll just do stickers or die cuts or whatever. But sometimes if I feel like I want to do like a typed title, you could type it in there or play with fonts. And then up at the top here, there's a spot to do additional journaling. And then in this case, what I did is I found a quote that I liked that I felt like that went with my story, and I typed it in there. So at this point, as far as the journaling, we're kind of at the same point where we just shut off all of those. That's not the one I wanted. Shut off all the layers again. And then basically, once they're all, not that one, shut off, and then you're basically down to just the journaling again, and then you can print that. So, and again, there's probably a super easy way to do this, like in one click, but I haven't found that way. Okay, so you can double check. I'll shut off the background paper. Oh, I still have that little box. I'll shut him off. And then print it out. Or, and actually, I guess in this case, I shut off the quote one at the top, but let's see. So basically, it's the same concept. I have my journaling, and then when they had that little thing, I put a quote up there. So then, and I can show you how I do, since the photos there weren't standard sizes, but I have my photos. This was actually a 4x6 I just cropped down. And this is, I basically just did what I showed you earlier. And this one I did print out at home. So I can show how that is done too. Let's see, April says she has a wide format printer, but it's a lot cheaper to use her laser printer. Very true. Ink costs, man. They're craziness. Okay, so turn all those layers back on. So say I want to print this photo. Right now, if I'll move this photo, it's not attached to that map behind it. And so it doesn't come along with it, it's little buddy. So what I typically would do for that is I have my photo selected, I have its little buddy behind it. And if you click this little, it's called link layers. I don't know, it's like a chain. I guess they're linked together. And then when I move them, I'll move the full thing. The whole thing goes together. And so, like when I would send out to print, 4x6 prints are generally the cheapest. So a lot of times I would just make things so they would fit within 4x6 prints, because then I could just order those, come up and use them. So what I did there is I did a new file. My internet again, darn it. Here, 1 second. Let me go see if I can switch some stuff. Here, let's go for a field trip. We're gonna go to the kitchen because the modem's right there. So maybe that will be a little more stable. You guys get a little background tour of my house. That's why we're at it. Okay.
To the ladies who were talking about having to relearn so much technology.
Yes.
I hear them completely about trying to do this, and I used to have like a little spreadsheet of what I would have to do in the steps. So while I like what you're talking about, I'd be worried about trying to figure out which step to do next.
Well, I think part of it, you know, it's just an evolution. Like I said, I've been doing this for, I don't know, like 10 years, right? And at some point you just kind of, that's why kind of when I was making that new canvas size, like I forget, like, you know, that would be new to people, right? Because I've just done it for so many times. So yeah, it's definitely, it's not something that you're just going to sit down and like, oh, well, I'm just going to like do this, right? But it has been like, I mean, I don't know. I would get really frustrated scrapbooking, I think, any other way. So.
No, for sure. I like what they said. They call them cheat sheets. That's exactly what I enjoy.
Yes.
Yes.
And the thing is, and I guess at some point I could probably put together like a cheat sheet thing, except there's so many variables, right? Yep. So I'd be like, well, I guess if your journaling doesn't fit, you can alter your journaling, or, you know, I'll like, if it's like a square photo, I have a vertical photo, like I'll fiddle with that. I mean, so there's definitely ways, you know, I would say if you want to start it or try it, just start with what you have. So if you have a 3x4 photo and you're wanting to do 8.5 by 11, you know, like the minimal amount of changes that you can make to begin with, I think that would be probably the easiest way to get your feet wet, I think. So.
Yeah, my cheat sheet would be so different from somebody else's. So
exactly. Yep. Okay. Let's see. Oh yes, and everybody trying to figure out what they had done. Yeah, definitely. It's use it or lose it, I think. It's definitely very much the case. Okay, so I realized I left my adhesive in the other room, but that's okay. So I have a 4x6 canvas, and this is basically, right, like a 17-cent photo at Costco or whatever, just inexpensive. So I would do, instead of printing this whole thing just for this little photo here, I linked those photos with my size, so that's the size I want, and then I will drag it into that new canvas size. And then basically I can save this as whatever, give it a name, and then send that off to a printer to be printed. Or, you know, I now, like I said, like a whole like whopping 1 month, I've printed at home. So I have 4x6 photo paper, and I can just send that to my printer, and then I have my picture, which is what I did for you last night. So so that would be how I would kind of deal with the odd size photos. Because you can see, I mean, this is like the example here, right? So if I hold this over, in the original layout, it was 4 inches by 4 inches, and now it's just under 3 inches by 3 inches. You can kind of see where that's to the 3. This is to the 3 over here. So, and that is, again, like I had said, how probably easiest to start with, you know, while you can alter everything and make it work, just start with straight up whatever size you're doing. And also knowing that Control Z is undo in Photoshop Elements, super helpful, because you're going to want to use that a lot as you go through things. So as
all of the rulers and the grid lines make me really happy.
Yes, and you can turn them, there's quick codes. You can go up to the view and turn them on and off, but you can also learn quick codes to turn things on and off. You can change colors of the lines. I mean, there you can customize a lot of things, but so then it's just a matter of, like I said earlier, so I want to build my page. I've got my background. I know I want, you know, this kind of wide yellow piece. I want maybe a smaller one that would be like this blue piece. I've got my 2 photos. Up at the top, there are these circles. I could kind of guess the size of the circles, or I could turn on my grid and kind of count out that this is probably like a 1 3/4 inch circle, and basically kind of assemble from there. So let me run and grab my adhesive, and then I'll kind of take you through how I assembled this one, and then we'll go from there. So I will be right back.
This is the total game changer.
It really is. It makes it look like it's possible to do a hybrid, if nothing else. This is Honore speaking.
That was exactly my thought, Honore. I was like, I've been so intimidated by hybrid or digital or whatever that just, wow, mind blown.
Worth a try.
Well, and the thing is, you can just do like the 30-day trial, right?
Well, I have Photoshop. I have Elements 10 on my computer. So
Then you can definitely do it, because I did it with Elements 6 for a bazillion years. So
yeah. I don't know how many classes I've taken with Photoshop Elements, and I think that your presentation is basically the clearest one I've ever seen.
well, that's heartwarming, because I kind of feel like I've just confused people more than I'm not confused them.
Nope, you have not confused. You have clarified.
For
Oh, well, good.
sure.
And I'm sorry about my internet. It's
Not your
oh
fault.
well, we live in the country, so we have satellite internet, which usually works fine, and they just upgraded our equipment. And of course, you have the option to upgrade your price and speed as well, which we're kind of not yet done because we're waiting to see, you know, if it all works out, if it's worthwhile or not, but we might need to, especially now that, you know, my kids are getting older, and so everybody's on a device at any given time, or sometimes on multiple devices at any given time. And so it's evolving.
Kim, how many templates are there with Simple Scrapper? Like, I think I just discovered, did you say there were zip files?
Yes. So there's 438, I think, and there's new ones every month.
I just thought they were images just to look at. I never realized they were Photoshop Element.
Oh, yes. They're magical. All right. So I'm almost done. Okay, let me see. Stop share. I need to trim off this. I have some scissors here. They're kitchen shears. They'll work, won't they?
Mm-hmm. Good enough.
I don't think we didn't like cut meat with these. I'm sure they're fine. Okay, but like that's it. So, you remember, right? There's those strips. There's a tag on the side. They didn't have anything at the bottom, but I kind of felt like it needed something. They had more circles across the top, but since I made my quote was, I liked my quote, so I had to make it because I didn't want to pick a different one. So it was wider, so I basically made these wider as well. So, but yeah, done. And
Okay, so you printed the quote in the circle at the top, and you printed the journaling. Everything else you built on there.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So.
Do you ever get tired of white cardstock layout? Like the background being white cardstock all the time? How do you deal with that?
I will print on pattern paper too. I'm trying to think of so again, with my ability to overthink things, I would sometimes, it would just take so long to pick things, or especially if I was going, like last weekend I went to that crop and I knew I wanted to do that big album. It was just easier to just like white cardstock and make it work. And I generally like that look. But I can find some other ones. I'm trying to give, I think last weekend I just did all white cardstock for my journaling, but I will print on pattern paper or colored cardstock. I know I did one recently that was on craft. So yeah, I'll totally do that too. But this is, this is just like the easy, right? This is like the batch, like get a pack of 25 of basil and just feed that through. So
yeah, no, I get that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see. What do we got for questions? All right. So yeah, so Fran commented about saving sketches from Pinterest. So as far as like, you can definitely use that to guide how you build your layouts, but you wouldn't, if it's a sketch specifically, just the image, it's not going to have all the layers for you to like check in your journaling. So if there's a sketch I like, I'll just like, kind of lay it out myself. So you could certainly do that. Or if it's just a sketch you want to do, you know, even the simple scrapper ones, if you just see the image, you know, you can just handwrite all that journaling too and make it work. But I'm kind of lazy like that, and I like to edit things because I want to like think through them. So, let's see. Fans for hybrid, yes, all the way. Okay, yes, printer and page sizes between US and Europe. And that you would probably end up, I guess I don't know how exactly that all translates over, but you might end up having to like convert some things, kind of how I did with that. Because this one started out, it was a 12 by 12, right? And I converted it to 8.5 by 11. So. I think we talked about this another time too, where you could like shut off the internet for other things. And I know my, what we probably need to do, my brother and sister-in-law did one of those booster things, right? So you can plug it in and you get like better internet. So like now, hopefully it's there because my modem is like in that bin right behind you there. So, and then as opposed to being across the house behind like a phone. So definitely there are options for my internet. Let's see. Oh, Penny. Worried about margins, only one way to find out. Yeah, at some point, it's paper and some ink, right? So give it a go and see if it works for you. Oh, also true. Lisa said that if you do 12 by 12 scrapbooking, you could do a lot of like this part and put it on a 12 by 12 scrapbook paper for like a background. And I've done that before too, especially if I have, when I was kind of doing a bunch of mix of sizes, if I had a 12 by 12 and I wanted to put 8.5 on the back of it, a lot of times I would just mat that on 12 by 12 paper to make it work. So, all right. Oh, yeah, Natalie is on the converted sizes because she knows what those are because she lives in here. Okay. So where are we at? So those are the layouts I have. So do you want me to try to like finagle one to like a 6 by 8 on array?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
April and I would like that.
Awesome. So let's look. So here's a bunch of downloads that I have. Maybe we'll start with one that's not so fussy. Let's see what this one is. Again, they like to tell me I don't have these fonts, and I'm okay with that. Okay, so this one maybe looks like one that we could switch around here a little bit. So let me share my screen again. Okay, so this is a 12 by 12.
Oh, cool.
Yes. Oh, yep. And Natalie said maybe working through it again. So we're going to try to make this a 6 by 8. And I've not actually made these to 6 by 8s, but we're going to give it a whirl. So this is going to be the same concept. You'll just end up going to a different dimension. So we have our image selected. Here, let me close out these other ones. You don't really need these. I can always open them up again for you. Okay, so the first thing I know is I don't want this to be 12 by 12. And kind of with the 6 by 8, the limiting dimension on there is the 6, right? Because that's like the smallest. So what I would do is convert this to a 6 by 6 first. So I'd go up to image, resize, image size. Again, we'll constrain proportion things on, so it's going to keep everything proportion. So if I switch to a 6, then my width, it automatically switches my height to a 6. So again, very concerned about these fonts. I'm okay with that. So now I have a 6 by 6 canvas. And in theory, I mean, you could just use this and stick it in a 6x8, but we are going to make a new file, hopefully. And I'm going to do custom size, 6 inches wide, 8 inches tall. And you can fiddle with this, but basically it's going to be a white background. And I like that because you can also make it so it's different colors, but the white just works for me because it's the default. And again, I said kind of lazy sometimes. So now I need to get all of these layers onto this new 6x8 size. So I'll start at the top, scan all the way to the bottom so I get all the layers. Hold down the shift button and click on that bottom one. So it selects everything in between. Click anywhere on this because all the layers are selected, and then drag it down to the 6x8. All right, I'll click somewhere to unselect all those. So they're not all paired up anymore. And you can see if I turn on my grids, so I've got, let's say, 1.25 inches at the bottom. It's empty, and the 3/4 inches, so there's the extra. Oops. All right. So usually then what I would do is just, with the background paper selected, you can grab the little square and make that bigger. So it is, fills the full space. So you, in theory, could just start here with your text, type in whatever you want. So this is a 6x8 example. And then I'm gonna put that all over and over again. So there's your information. I found that I like to use some of the keyboard shortcuts, but so in this case, if you want to go in closer behind my little Zoom group chat thing that I can't get to move right now, there's like a little magnifying glass so you can look at it closer or farther away. You can kind of see what you've written. This example that we have here has journaling lines in it. So sometimes if you want to fuss with your journaling backs to change the size or your font size, if there's journaling lines, sometimes you have to be a little more aware of that because the lines won't necessarily line up with your journaling then, or just shut off the journaling lines and don't use those at all. So then you could do the same type of thing where you just shut off all of the layers that you don't want to look at. And you will end up, oh, I did not go all the way to the top, with just the journaling again on the background. And I don't know that it matters. I usually will shut off the background as well. Because I guess then I just know that it's not transmitting anything to, like, it's just going onto the paper. But the background definitely makes it easier to see. So, okay, April says, font sizes do tend to use for journaling. You find below a certain font size not legible, you can ask it to show an actual size and see if you can read it. Natalie can probably answer that pretty well because she does Digi all the time. I seem to remember at one point someone saying that if you zoomed, you could literally, like, again, trial and error type of thing, so do the zoom selection and kind of hold up, like, now hold it up and then kind of find at what point it looked similar to what you see in real life as far as typing. My answer to that, though, is that usually I just use, like, the same fonts. And I know, like, I use a lot of Arial regular, again, because I tend to overthink things. That a lot of times what I use because it's easy to read. I know that, you know, I don't really probably want to go much lower than 10 because I like to be, I don't want, like, tiny font. And I'm probably not going to go much bigger than, like, 12. So once you kind of have a few fonts that you like and you can use them enough to kind of get a feel for what sizes work. Also the same thing for the leading, which is the spacing between the journaling lines. Some people, I think it looks really nice when they're kind of snugged up together, but it can be harder to read. And again, that's something that I learned with You'll see she's talked about that a lot in her class. So yeah, April said font to font, it might be different, and it is. So I think it's just a matter of finding what fonts that you like, and then just getting a feel for what sizes work for you. So I've definitely done that. So
yeah, I totally agree with that, Kim, that I usually have about 4 fonts that I use, and the smallest I would go is 10. I did try 8 on a project, and it was too tiny, and you've got to remember that if your audience is your family and you're a part of that family, eventually we're going to get to the point where smaller font is not a happy thing. So yeah, minimum would be 10 for me on most of my fonts, and they're sort of like a typewriter sort of font. And then obviously with some of my titles, I go quite large depending on what the font is. So
yeah, I figure I'm not getting any younger. So like, and I don't have like the best eyesight now. So I'm thinking ahead.
Yep, me too.
Okay. Any deals for Photoshop Elements Max sale? So I peeked online just real quick before this started to kind of get a feel for like prices, and I want to say like $80-ish is kind of where it was running. And then there's there are some different versions, whether you got like the actual disc or you did download only, and there used to always be big sales, I think, over like the holidays, like the Black Friday, Thanksgiving deals. So yeah, carries on that, definitely. So if you're interested, I would kind of check it out and think about it for then. So, all right. So at this point, we'll go back to our 6x8 layout. And so say you've printed this out. So you can do Control Z, and that will basically turn on all those back on without having to go click on each individual one. So Control Z is undo. So basically undid, shutting off all those layers. And then it would be a matter of using your photo. And again, remember that since we made this smaller, this is not a 4x4 photo. We could drag a photo into it and then print that separately. Or again, you can just count the squares. So let's see, that's 1 full inch. That's like 1.5 inches. So it looks like about a 2 inch by 2 inch approximately photo. So you could just try out, or you could do what I did earlier where you drag the picture in and then print it.
That's what I was saying.
All right, if you own an older version, you might be able to get the price. I did not know about the upgrade price. Oh, buy straight from Adobe. I didn't. I got mine from Amazon. So that's good to know if you have an older version and you want to get a newer one. But like I said, to do this very basic stuff, like you don't need to necessarily have the latest and greatest. So, and Mally said Black Friday at Costco. And you know what? That's what I've always had seen it there before. I want to say last year I did not see it. And maybe I wasn't at the store. I just was online. And I did not see it at Costco. So I waited. I ended up doing it in like January and just got it from Amazon. But let's see. If too old, cannot be upgraded. Good to know as well. So I'm sure my 2009 Photoshop 6 they would have said, no, lady, you need to upgrade on your own. So then, yeah, it's a matter of kind of looking and see what you have for your layers. If you're looking to like build things, and you can say you want to see kind of how big this blue layer is, and at some point you don't really care how far over it goes because that picture's in front of it, but you can shut off layers to see things. So if I shut off that layer and that layer, then I can kind of get a feel for that guy, for the sizing. And then obviously here they have stars, but maybe for your story, like butterflies would work, or hearts, or whatever embellishment you have. You know, you don't have to interpret it literally. It's just kind of a placeholder for what you would want to do. So.
Well, and I'm also thinking if you've recently taken a Chamel class, then you could put about 7 or 8 more layers of paper behind there too.
He does. She's more and more, isn't she? Yeah, for sure. And then what nice thing, a Simple Scrapper, a lot of times, like, I guess they used to do this and then we didn't, and now we brought it back as the whole featured artist thing. So the layouts that we've been getting recently are based off of layouts of kind of well-known scrapbookers in the industry. So the one this month is Ingen Markowitz. And then there was Megan Andrew, and then Susan. I think she's Little Thing Big Days, or Little on Instagram. So like these are people I follow on social media because I like their work. And then here I'm actually getting, you know, someone's doing the work for me and basically recreating a layout so I can easily do that myself. So, which is pretty awesome. Okay. What else do you need to fiddle with? Do you want me to show you something else to reinforce, or you're good? Do you want to see how to pull a picture into that little square?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do, should we do my cat, or do you want to, let's do the cat. We'll make her a 2x2. Oh, isn't she cute? Okay, so. So I have my photo, and I'm going to pull up, this is my shrunk down size, I guess, my adjusted template. So then I'm going to, I have my photo, all right, I said I was unstable, so hopefully you can hear me. So I'm going to drag up my picture. And one thing to realize with Photoshop elements, and this is just a fiddling thing, is that basically you start at the top, like this is the top of your layout, and then these are the things that are kind of in like all the way to the background paper. So it's kind of like if you're looking at it where it's kind of building up. So right now I have my photo over this square, but if I would drag my photo underneath it, you can't see it because this layer is on top of it. So when you are placing your photo, you just need to make sure that it's directly over like the photo home that you want it to go to. So I'm going to clip that in place. So I just hold on the Alt key between the two and click. And that basically makes her the size she needs to be. Let's see. There's some comments.
Click. Alt, clean, click.
Alt, yep, hold on the Alt button and you'll get a little, I don't want to do that. Apparently that does a zoom thing too. And then you'll get a little like arrow, and then that'll kind of, I think they call it a clip, but it basically links that image to that layer below it. Okay, so Lois wants to know if you can edit embellishments, color, or texture. So you could. So if you're doing this digitally, okay, first let me finish this photo thing and then I'll show you that whole thing as far as the digitally. But showing embellishments to print. Again, that would be like if you're doing digital scrapbooking, you would do that too. But okay, so photo-wise, we've got our photo. And again, remember, if I'm moving this around, I haven't linked them together yet. So I need to link them together so they'll stay together when I transfer it. So I'm going to select both of those, click my little chain so they're linked. You can also, again, you can also right click and link the layers that way. Like I said, there's a bunch of different ways to do things. So I'm going to make a 4x6 photo canvas because that's the size that I print 90% of the time. So there's my 4x6 photo canvas. Select my photo, drag it down. So there it is. So this photo in the sketch was kind of tilted, and so that is how it came through printed. So if you didn't want it to be tilted, you can adjust it, you know, or you just trim it out, tilt it, and stick it on so it's more true to the sketch. But, and then, yeah, so then it's just a matter of saving that as its own image name, and either you can print from home just directly from Photoshop Elements, or you can upload it to, you know, an offsite photo printer. So, and then as far as like if you wanted to make these different papers, you totally could, but that kind of delves more into like the digital scrapbooking things. And I will do that sometimes, but very much if I'm specifically looking for something. So let's say I'll just pick up a paper. We'll do this green one. So that is a digital scrapbook paper.
So basic gray, I miss you.
I know, they were good stuff. So say I'm gonna take this orange paper and I wanna make it this green paper. So I've selected it. You can see it's got the little blue image here to let me know that's when I've selected. So just like the photo, how I drag it up there, I'm going to drag that digital paper image up. So that was sized as a 6x6 image. So it's much larger. So you could just clip it like that. So using the same thing, got my little handprint. I hold down the Alt button. I get that little arrow, click, and then it is now bring digital paper. Or that image, maybe it didn't matter so much. If you want to undo it, same, just reverse, hold down the Alt button, click, and it's undone. Depending on your pattern, so just like with 6x6 pattern papers, a lot of times how those patterns are smaller, they're a little tighter pattern for the smaller paper size. You could also just shrink that down and then clip it. And
Kim,
yes.
do you have to fill each one of those little boxes before you print it, or can you print it at that stage and all of those things would appear, like that little bar that says title?
They would all appear if you just print it now.
Okay, so you have to either delete them or fill them with what you want.
Or, well, you don't have to delete them, but you can shut them off. So the little
yeah.
thing makes them invisible. You could physically just delete them, but I leave them in place because then I want to use them to kind of guide my later. But yeah, so like the image that I have right now, if I would print that, it would print that whole thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So.
But the cat photo wouldn't, because you've already done that in photo paper elsewhere?
No, if you see it right now, it would print it. So if I didn't want that to print, I would have to shut off that image.
And then you print the photo elsewhere and then put it back.
I do, because I don't print on photo paper. Like when I'm printing my background, I just do that on cardstock.
Yeah.
And then the photo paper, the picture, like I said, usually I didn't used to print at home ever, and now I'm kind of dipping my toe into the waters. But yeah, then I would just send them out to like Persnickety or Costco or whoever.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so did I just like completely freak everybody out?
Lots of
No.
long.
Okay. So we still got 30 minutes. So I don't know. Do you guys just want to like, should we just chit chat and crop, or I can show you stuff? It's up to you. Answer your questions. Do you want to see me? I can do a double page, but then I don't want to make them more complicated. I mean, you can do like anything, but I feel like the more things I show you, then it's gonna make you like overwhelmed. I don't want you to be overwhelmed.
Could you just do a really simple one, start to finish, at medium speed?
Oh, so just like I showed you with like do you want me to like convert the size or leave it just
Just do an 8.5 by 11 page or 12 by 12 page, start to finish.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. I can do that. Let me look at this here. April wants to know where the templates now are on the new platform. So in the Simple Scrapper membership, if you go to topics, there's one that is sketches and templates. And so since we've moved to that new community place there, whatever, the new site. So all of the ones that have been released since June are loaded up there individually. And then she's got a link so you can access all of the ones that go back. And then she's putting together this whole sketchbook thing. But if you go to topics, sketches, and templates, that's where you'll find them there. Let's see, Lois. I can see printing out the template with the background papers and pics, and then add your own titles and embellishments. So yeah, so essentially, that would just be like one step up with the hybrid, where you're adding your embellishments and your pictures, but you're still using like digital pattern papers. So the sketches that Melanie puts together for us, there's usually just different color schemes, so there aren't any patterns, it's just solids. But I mean, there's like a huge, Natalie can attest, a massive digital scrapbooking industry, and they have like amazing stuff. I drool over it all the time. Every now and then I think I'm going to start dabbling all in digi, and then I go back to paper. But yeah, so definitely a lot of options. So let's find one that is an 8.5 by 11. I will take you guys through. to remember to share my screen.
That's so cute.
Okay. Yeah, 6 by 8, definitely doable. We'll say goodbye to Cassie. Okay, let's see. What do I have downloaded? That's 8.5 by 11. Oh, that's the one I just did. So I like this one, 8.5 by 11. Well, see, this is where it's hard for me because I'm gonna have to like pick a picture and all sorts of stuff. Let me go in and get one. All right, and then let's look real quick too. I'm gonna look back at this. So this is a square picture, and it looks like I could pretty easily make this a horizontal picture or a vertical picture, but for the sake of ease, I'm going to plan on one that is going to be a square here. So.
Okay, so looking over at the right, I don't see all the layers.
Oh, you know what? Because I opened up here, it's a JPEG. I opened the wrong one. So I think I just wanted to see what size it was. So let me open. So this is the
okay,
JPEG. It's a preview. No, you're fine. I would have needed to get to that point. So I'm glad you pointed it out. So yeah, so I know that that's an 8.5 by 11 that I want. So I'm going to open up the photos. There's no 10. Carrie wants to know, can APE be used with Chromebook? Are you using Photoshop Elements? Is that what you're asking, Terry? So I'm not sure what APE is. All right, so Carrie, there are all of our layers that we want. Okay, so with Chromebook, I would think so. I guess you would just have to double check with Adobe. I don't see why it couldn't. At some point, it's just a software, and there's usually a Mac version and a PC version, so. Okay, so let's open up a photo. Look at all my crazy. All right, so we went to a concert this summer. It was my girl's first concert. It was super exciting. So I'm going to, I took it on my phone, so it came through not very, oh, here. So this is not a square, but I can make it into a square pretty easily. So here's my 3x3 image. I'm gonna take up my picture, which is much larger than it needs to be. So I will shrink her down a little bit. So it's big enough to fit over the spot. Then I'm going to clip it to the photo image. Let's look in here. Make sure I have it positioned how I want it. Because you can see this little white, it's showing that I didn't have the photo complete over that, the matte image there. Okay,
so clipping is the Alt key or the Control key?
I think it depends if you have a Mac or a PC. So I'm on a PC, and for me, it's Alt, and then you click. And there's different ways to do it. So if you would just search for, how to clip or, clip an image in Photoshop Elements, there's, I'm sure, multiple ways to do it.
Okay, and then you click the little thing to link, and that's a separate step.
Yeah, yep. So I have this in place, and now I can move this around, right? So I can say I want to position it how I want it. I'm probably not going to put this for here because it's covering this up. I like that positioning of the photo. So now I know that's what I want. So I'm going to highlight both of those layers and click the little chains so they're linked. So now when I move it, I'm moving the whole thing. Okay. So now I want to print that picture. I'm going to make, I only have 4x6 photo paper at my house. So that's the size I'm going to print it on. So here's my new 4x6 image. I'm going to go back to the photo bin to find my work here and click on the layers that I'm working on. I am going to set this preview down so it doesn't confuse us. And the same thing with my original. Okay. So now that I have that, I can move this box. I'm going to drag that onto my photo, or what is going to be my photo. Okay, so now I need to print this. So let me go put some photo paper in my printer and I will be right back. Yes, and April said you could print multiple photos on one piece of paper. And that is usually what I do because I'm kind of like that. But for the interest of time, you guys don't want to see me agonize over my photo selections. So, okay, so I went to File and I chose to print. So here's my print selection. And I selected my paper size is 4x6. And I'm going to change my settings because I'm not using paper. I am using this semi-gloss photo paper. And I haven't printed it from home enough. I guess when I've done this since I've just started, I have gone to the high quality print. So I do know some people say they just use the standard print and they've been happy with it. So my settings look good. I have semi-gloss paper. It's in my rear tray, the right size. I like my settings. So I'm gonna hit OK. And now we're gonna hit print and cross our fingers that it works. So while that is doing its thing, oh, I hear it's going, so that's good. So I will click back onto my image, and look and see where I might want to put my journaling. So here, there's share your story here. So again, so I double clicked it to select it. You can see over here on the blue, it's telling me that that's what I've got selected. Again, they're very concerned about my font selection. I'm totally okay with that. I'm gonna hit okay. And I'm going to maybe put a note about, let's see, the girls' first real concert. Imagine Dragons did not disappoint. And it did not. It's very impressive. I would recommend them. So I can select it. And you can see how all of my words did not fit in there. So I could edit them to make them work. Or there's a lot of space here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click it again. So my text is selected. And then I could make my text box bigger so it can fit. I could also have made it go bigger vertically as well, which I think I like that better.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, or maybe not, because I think, see, this is why I did this stuff for you before, so you didn't see me deal with this. But I kind of like it if it says the Imagine Dragons is all on one sheet, but it's not going to do that, so that's okay. we'll leave it there. So there's that. They have the title overlaying the photo here, so I probably won't like type something in there because I'll just use like a paper product here. And again, these words are all just like if I was doing, like they're on like a sticker, and I have a ton of like word stickers, and so that's probably what I would use for that as well. So at this point, I have some journaling. I got my photo selected and it printed. So what I'm going to do is turn off all those layers again. And again, I really should look for a way to do this more efficiently. And so then I can print that background sheet.
Kim, just a quick tip. I might go to the topmost layer, hold down Shift, then go scroll down, holding down Shift, go to the bottommost layer, so that turns them all, so that you can, there is a faster way to say, turn all of them off except for this one layer, and I can't think of it for the life of me. Let me go and Google that, and I'll come back.
Well, otherwise I can just Google it too. I always think when I'm doing that, like I should do it, and then I get done, and then I don't ever go back. So, and like since I tend to back to these things when I'm working on stuff, like if I'm doing like a big album project or something, then a lot of times, like, you know, maybe it's a couple weeks before I get back to it, and then it's always like, huh, I really should have done that. Okay, so this guy's still on. Where's he at? Let's check him off. So I have my journaling in the frame. Who is this? Okay, so you can see here, I've got my journaling, and then there's this little tag that I apparently missed. So I just clicked on him, and he lit up blue, so I knew that I can check him. Now what I would do is go and highly summary hit my background. So, and hopefully she's gonna look at the recording. Hopefully the recording is okay since that crazy internet, but whatever. Now I need to go switch out to get my photo and put in my background. So, Carrie, should I print on a pattern paper for you? Should I challenge myself?
That would be fine if you wanted, except if it would take you 3 hours to make pattern paper like
my
me.
paper. Yeah.
Yeah.
See,
that would take you too long.
Okay, I'll just go stick some white in for purposes.
Okay, so Kim, oh, sorry. Just for everybody else, I'll tell Kim again in a second. For a PC, you would go to your text layer that you wanted to keep visible, hit Alt, and then hit the little eyeball. And that would make everything else invisible or unseen. So that would keep your text and not anything else. And then you can toggle as you'd wish if there are 2 text layers. Say for that other layout that she was doing that had her journaling and then her quote at the top, you could just go to the quote layer as well then and toggle it off with one click by touching the eyeball again so that you'd have the 2 layers. So Kim, for PC, you go to the layer that you want to keep visible and you hold down Alt. So I guess that would mean Option for you guys. Okay. And you just hit the eyeball and everything else goes invisible. So I was saying that's probably faster. You can try it the next time you do it.
Totally. Well, I could try it right now while we're waiting for this to print.
Okay.
Okay, so let me okay, so I'll turn it back all on. So I go to the one that I want to keep and I hold down.
I hold down Alt on my PC.
Okay.
Click.
Oh, magic.
So if we were doing the other layout that you also had your quote, then you would just go up to your quote layer and then untoggle the eyeball for that one, and then you'd have both of those layers available to you. So much faster.
Totally much faster.
Yay, magic.
I knew there was a way. I was always just like, yeah, I'll figure it out sometime.
No, but it's again, if we don't use these regular keyboard shortcuts or we do the process, it's completely lost. So Google is very much the friend. Yes.
That is amazing. Okay, so let me go and grab, I heard my printer print for my journal, so I'll be right back.
There's a little caveat with that, ladies. I use Photoshop Elements, so I know that there are some keyboard shortcuts that don't translate well between PSE and Photoshop. So you'd want to sort of Google your own version of the software that you're using.
Okay. And actually for me, Natalie, it was the Alt button that worked. So I have a photo that we printed the 3x3, and then this was the journaling part of it. So then it is just a matter of trim this guy out. But now that we've easily and quickly turned on all those layers, you can basically just look through your stash and see what kind of works for the story that you're telling and with your photo, and that maybe kind of you felt inspired by based on because this one had a lot of like word journal type strip things. It had a frame. In fact, I'm now in my kitchen and at my scrap room. I just grabbed a bunch of baskets of stuff and we'll see if I can build something. So, all right. So let's go. Let's see. Oh, April's gonna try it on her Mac and she's doing a cheat sheet. Excellent.
This is like improv scrapbooking, Kim. You're doing amazing.
Yeah, I don't know how far we're gonna get on this part of it, because like I said, this is the part that takes so long. I'm like fiddling through all my little baskets to see what's gonna fit, but I can roll with it. So. And it's just paper, right? It's on the end. So,
Right.
Yeah. I know you watch like Jennifer, like if she's doing the live ones and everyone's like chiming in at her. I was like, man, I don't know. That would be tough. Okay. So let's go back and we'll see what we're working with here. So all these butterflies, very pretty, but I do not think they're going to work with my rock concert. I have a little frame, and maybe I should have stuck a smaller size up there because now my little frame is not going to fit. That is now too small. So this is the point in time where you can, you know, this is where I lose my time. So for some people, it's like figuring out the design. I don't spend time on that because I just use one of our simple scrapper stitches, but kind of choosing the papers and everything is what gets me kind of sucked in. All right, so I have is a much bigger frame than they have, but that's okay. I can maybe make that work. Let's see what else I've got. So I think a lot of times I start with my photos for color inspiration, and then if there's any particular like embellishment I want to use or paper, then I'll kind of work with this. This photo though is pretty much very black, so I don't know that it's going to give me a lot of inspiration for color. So I might just see what I have that works. So and then there's a bunch of tags. And honestly, I would just take some pattern paper and cut some tags with that. So let's see. My frame I chose is kind of like a pinky red frame. This is where you need that Jennifer's handy dandy other image where you can see what she's doing. You guys can tell me what to choose. I don't have that. But I think I'm making some choices here. So now I've picked a paper for that big piece in the bottom, that big pink piece that I think will work. And then there's that kind of, let me shut this off, orangey colored one. that's kind of on the next layer. So it would be this one. And actually, if you see that, if we shut off that top image, you can see that that orange paper goes all the way. It's like it extends above the pink piece, but I'm not going to do that because I guess I'm kind of a rebel. I'm going to just put like a little strip there, I think. Let's see. Let me adhere some of the stuff down, and then I'll show you guys what I've got so far, and then maybe you can advise me. What kind of like, so they've got all the butterflies. Maybe for like a big rock concert, you could do like stars maybe, or like music notes, but then that I totally couldn't do right now because I would be silhouetting those. But what do you guys think for an substitute for the butterflies?
I like heart.
You like hearts? I think that would be good. I like hearts.
I meant stars.
Okay. That would be good. And the hearts would probably work with my my color scheme too. All right, so I just turned back on my grid so I can look and see that this pink paper here I just clicked on, it looks like it is about 2 inches tall. And again, I'm not like beholden to that for a size, but that definitely gives me a place to start. And in this case, that's what I'm going to use. So I will put that in place. And I have a little heart, apparently we are like advertising for Felicity Jane, but it was a Felicity Jane branding strip that had hearts on it. And I have never subscribed to like their kits, but they had a sale this summer. It was pretty considerable. And I've always thought their products looked cool. So I ordered several things and I've been very happy with them. So I did get some of their December products to use for an album this winter. I think that'll be good. All right, so let me adhere this last bit and then I'll show you where I'm at. So I have the frame. I'm thinking probably some hearts in place of the butterflies. I've got my picture. So what I'm gonna need is a title. I'll need some of those word stickers probably of some sort. And then these tags. This one actually has, if you look, let me show off some of these to show you. This kind of suggested background, this mist. You can see here this light blue. So that would be really good if you were into like mixed media or just done like some watercolor or something like that. So that would actually have been pretty cool for a concert tape page, I think, too. But all right. So far, I have this, I don't know what kind of pattern this is, paper, the hearts. My frame is a lot bigger, so I'll probably put like a bigger heart up here, and then I'll have my picture. Then it's just a matter of finding tags or making tags. And I know that Felicity Jane kit had some tags in it, and I did not grab that basket. So I will go get that. And then actually, I might use, let's see, in place of that tag, years ago in a Studio Calico kit, they're like little envelopes, and I've never used them. I don't know why. I think they're super cute. I think they're a little more, not rustic, or not like grungy, you know, like they're more distressed, I guess, than I would normally use. But that kind of seems a little appropriate for like a rock concert. So maybe I would substitute one of those little envelope things for a tag. So we'll see about that. So let me go and grab that basket that I know has some tags in it. And then we'll go from there. We'll see. Okay. And you know what, Carrie, I might end up doing stars just because I've got these puffy sticker stars.
Well, I actually meant to say stars instead of hearts. So.
And they already have hearts at the bottom. So maybe that, you know, I mean, at some point, it's a lot of loving. Okay, so I have some Felicity Jane tags in here, but they're feeling a little delicate, I think, for this layout. So what I might do instead, and what I will do oftentimes, is just kind of cut my own. And I probably want to bring in some red. So this is kind of where you kind of can fiddle with, you know, in the example they had tags, but I definitely don't need to stick to tags. This is like a super old, I mean like super duper old. I think there was a thing on the bottom, I cut it off to use it, and it says today's the day. So I could probably tuck that in there behind it. This was one of the tags from Felicity Jane, but it has like a pink, might be a little too feminine, I think, for this. And then, let's see. I think it's just a matter of like building your layers at this point. What I will sometimes do is just take like a, well, sometimes all the time, like just a plain like shipping tag. And then if I have a pattern paper I want, I just hold it up to it and then cut it out and make my own tags that way. So colors wise, I have some red, I have the black and white. These lights that are coming off this photo, they look like they are kind of like cool blue colors. Let's see this pile of scraps I grabbed. What would work? This is kind of like this aqua. It's got numbers on it, and I kind of like that, but I feel like I wish it was the numbers were going the other way. So I can maybe make that work. Oh, this one might be better. Aqua stripes. I think I will start with that. And then all those trips to that craft room, you think I should have grabbed my scissors, but we're stuck with the kitchen shears, I guess, so they'll work. And obviously, I think what most people do, they don't, when they do this type of thing, you know, they don't go to the extreme with like the typed journaling and everything, but you know, you could definitely like use this as a guide as far as just like the sketch if you wanted to just write your journaling into that kind of box. So that would work. Okay, so then I just cut a tag shape. I'll wait to adhere this down because I'll probably punch out a hole. I'll put that behind there. See if I can fit this all in here a little bit. All right. So I'm actually really kind of liking that. My finger's in the way, but I have the today's the day. I've got that little envelope thing. It would be kind of cool if I would be able to incorporate the actual envelope somehow into it. But that might be beyond me for doing this live because I am not Shmel, nor am I Jennifer, but I think it might just get used as a layering piece. All right. I don't have the, so now I'm kind of left with, I've kind of got my layers, my kind of the substitutes for the tags. And then it's just a matter of what I would put in place for those butterflies. And I had some puffy stars right here. I think I would probably, I like the, I think these are black or navy, I can't quite tell. You could put those going kind of in the rough spot. So let's see. Oh, we got action in the chat room. Okay.
Can you
Oh,
hold it up with the stars?
Well, I haven't gotten them on yet.
But they're on clear paper, sort of like, aren't they?
Yeah, they're is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just puffy stars from, I don't remember who made them.
They might work.
I would do 5 instead of 3 because it needs more.
Yeah, I definitely need, because I have 1, 2, 3, I have 5. No, I have 4. But I have little ones that are right here. Or I could always substitute in more of something else. So then these are, I can find one that's got a clear background for you. These are the same ones, but they're solids and they're smaller.
Okay.
So I would do those. All right. So I'm probably going to take this tag back off so I can go add the punch to it, but for the interest of the internet, I will just stick it down and you guys can see it now, but. All right, so let's see here. Oh, and then I need like letter sticker or word, like phrase stickers. I don't need, but that was one thing that was in the inspiration. All right, I don't think I'm feeling this little envelope thing anymore. What else would I do? Maybe. Maybe I'll try another tag. Give that a go. All right, you guys are chatting here. What's going down? Oh yeah, well, you guys haven't seen my layout yet, so I wouldn't be too impressed yet. Okay. Sketches and templates. Here's the best ways to find the templates. Long time to search them. Interactive PDF to scroll through them. It's not all the way done yet, I think, because she showed like a sneak peek of it. Because I think what is the really time-consuming part is she's going back and finding examples for all of the sketches because the design team use them every month. So I think when she did the sneak peek, a lot of people said that that was something that they would appreciate, was having examples along with it. And so she's finding those examples, but then she's got to, find all the documentation for like who did the original one so they can, get recognized. And then, so it's a long time of like finding them and uploading everything. So I think she's working on it. I know diligently, but it's taking, I think, a lot of time for sure. All right. Okay. Let's see. Oh, a ticket stub. I don't have an actual ticket stub because we did digital tickets, so they're not very exciting. But yes, so I don't really have memorabilia from the concert itself. But yeah, a tag would have been cool. All right, so let's look into
this morning Natalie was talking about using like clip art type stuff and stuff you can find online.
Yeah.
So you could maybe do something like that. I'm not saying right now on this one, but
yes,
without a ticket, that would be cute.
Yeah, and I have some that are just, you know, not like they're general like beauty type whatever.
Yeah, within my Digi stash, I have a number of kits if they're sort of rock themed that do have ticket stubs, and you can modify them so that you can put in your own artist name and that sort of thing and date. So that's always fun. Because yeah, now that they don't create them anymore, I mean, I can go back in my stash and pick up ones for older concerts, but now that people really don't use them anymore, it's sort of that lost memorabilia.
It is. It's kind of sad. They were always so cool. All right. So I think I was looking for placement. It looks like board stickers. And I have some as far as whether I think they would fit. I'm not for certain. Okay, so these are some Allie Edwards. This is the Week in the Life kit. Hello, favorite moment. Those would totally work. Let's stick that one on there somewhere. And then, let's see, details would be good. Remember this, loved this day. Could be good. All right, let's see. All right, so I'm gonna stop sharing. So that was like speed scrap round. So I think on this tag, since it is patterned and it's kind of more of a muted pattern and there's lines, I would use that for journaling. But so I have stars. I did some of the stickers. I think these in the original image, they had them kind of going down. So I think I might fiddle with the placement of the stars a little bit. But I mean, that kind of gives you a rough idea of how it would work, right? So from start to finish, I think Lisa Marie had said earlier where it's like, kind of know what story or photos you're using so you can kind of use that as a guide. Then it was choose your template or your sketch that you want to use. Get that open up. Basically print your photos, print your journaling, and then assemble it. So, woo! What do we got?
You're a rock star. That was awesome.
Yeah.
That is how I do my hybrid. Questions? Do you want to commit me to the loony bin? No.
Where?
No, I want to commit you to doing more improv scrapbooking, though.
Oh, I don't know that that's going to happen. I'm going to be honest. Yeah. Remember when I said how I like to like plan things? Yeah. This was not planned, so we're going with it.
But it's so real. It was so realistic because the things that were happening, such as your internet acting up and having to go back and forth and this, that, that's what happens in real life.
It is. It's very much real life. So,
yeah.
Okay. So I think we're going to call this because at some point this recording needs to end because otherwise it'll be enormous. So next up we have Jennifer is back at 8 o'clock for the keynote. And tonight it's on photos. And then tomorrow morning we've got Penny doing December Daily. And it's like 3 a.m. my time, but for everybody else's time, that, you know, worldwide will be much more accommodating, I'm sure. and then late morning with Penny, and then I'm back in the afternoon to talk. I'm going to share my little Thanksgiving gratitude project that we do every year, and then Jennifer's back at 4. So basically, all you really need to know now is to come back at 8 o'clock to see Jennifer. So, any last tidbits, words, concerns? Otherwise, I'm going to boot everybody off, and then so the recording can process, and then you guys can just come back in if you want. So,
Thank you.
all right.
Thanks so much, Kim.
Appreciate it. All right, so I'll kick y'all off, and then.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate
We'll
it.
see you later.
Barb was asking about the giveaway, and we did do that earlier. Michelle won the digital issue of Retro Magazine. So
Yeah.
that one I did remember that. So woohoo!
Yeah.
All right, that's good, everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye.